Right now, you're sitting there frustrated. You're looking at your life, your situation, and you're asking, why is it happening for me? Why am I still struggling? Where is my success? You work, you grind, you put in the effort, and yet nothing seems to be moving the way you want it to. And because of that, you're doubting everything. You're doubting yourself, doubting your abilities, and worst of all, you're doubting God's plan for you. But let me tell you something that most people will never understand. God knows exactly what He's doing. You don't have what you want right now because you're not ready for it. I know that's hard to hear. Your ego doesn't want to accept it. You want to believe that you're already built for success, that you deserve it right now today, but that's the difference between winners and losers. Winners understand that the process is the test. The struggle isn't a punishment, it's preparation. Think about it. You ever see someone win the lottery and go broke in a year? You ever watch these young guys make quick money in crypto, flex for a few months, and then disappear? You know why that happens? Because they got success before they were ready. They never built the character, the discipline, or the resilience to keep it. Easy come, easy go. And God is never going to put you in a position where your blessings become your curse. That's why you're still struggling. That's why you haven't hit your big break yet. Because if He gave it to you now, you'd fumble it. Look at your life. If you suddenly had millions in your account today, would you even know what to do with it? You think you would, but you wouldn't. You'd make the wrong moves, trust the wrong people, blow money on nonsense, and within a year, you'd be worse off than before. That's why God is making you wait. That's why He's putting you through trials, because you need to be strong enough to handle what's coming. You ever wonder why great warriors go through the harshest training, why soldiers are put through hell before they're sent into battle? Because without the suffering, they wouldn't be ready. Without the discipline, they'd break under pressure. You're in training right now, and every setback, every challenge, every moment where you feel stuck, it's part of God's way of sharpening you into the man you need to be. But most people, they fail the test. They give up too soon. They start questioning God. They start whining, why me? Instead of embracing the process, they reject it. And that's why they stay stuck. That's why most people never achieve greatness, because they don't have the patience or the faith to trust God's timing. You need to wake up and realize something. If you don't have it yet, it's because you're still being built. And if you quit now, you don't just lose out on the blessing, you lose out on the transformation that comes with it. Because success isn't just about having money, power, or status. It's about becoming the person who can handle those things. The process is brutal. It will break you down. It will strip away your weaknesses. It will force you to face every insecurity, every flaw, every limitation you have. And that's exactly why you need it. Because when you come out on the other side, you won't just have success, you'll be unshakable. But only if you don't give up. See, most people want results now. They want shortcuts. They want to wake up one day and have everything fall into place without the years of work, the discipline, the sacrifice. But that's not how God works. He doesn't hand out blessings to people who aren't ready. He doesn't reward impatience. He rewards those who trust the process, put in the work, and prove they can handle the weight of success. Ask yourself, do you really think you're ready for everything you're asking for? Do you really believe you've done everything necessary to hold on to what you want? Or are you just chasing the fantasy of success without doing the real work required to sustain it? Because here's the truth, the waiting is part of the plan. The delay isn't a denial, it's a setup. God isn't holding you back, He's preparing you. He's testing your patience, your faith, your resilience. He's seeing if you're the kind of person who quits when things get tough, or if you're the kind of person who keeps going even when everything seems stacked against you. And that's the moment where most people fail. They hit a few obstacles and suddenly they think the dream is dead. They convince themselves that success just isn't meant for them, and they stop. They give up right before the breakthrough, right before everything was about to click, right before God was about to open the door. That's the devil playing tricks on you. That's fear creeping in, whispering in your ear, telling you to settle, telling you to give up. And most people, they listen. They let doubt win, but not you. Not this time. You're going to trust the process. You're going to stay the course. You're going to have faith that every hardship, every setback, every single painful moment is leading you exactly where you're meant to be. Because if you can't handle the struggle, you don't deserve the success. If you can't embrace the process, you'll never reach the destination. And let me tell you, when you finally get there, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. You'll look back at all the frustration, all the challenges, all the moments where you felt stuck, and you'll realize God knew what He was doing all along. The only question is, are you strong enough to trust Him? because the moment you do, the moment you fully commit, the moment you stop questioning and start embracing the process, everything changes. You ever stop and think, what if everything you're going through right now is exactly what you need? What if the struggle, the delay, the frustration, it's all part of God's plan to make you unstoppable? But instead of trusting Him, instead of embracing the challenge, you're sitting there complaining, doubting, asking, why me? Let me tell you something. The moment you start questioning the process, you start losing. You start letting fear creep in. You start thinking that maybe success isn't meant for you, that maybe you're wasting your time. But that's the biggest lie of all. God isn't punishing you. He's training you. He's testing your patience, your resilience, your discipline. Because let me tell you, weak men don't win. Weak men crumble the moment life gets hard. Weak men take shortcuts, look for easy money, try to skip the process, and guess what happens? They fall, they get exposed, they get humbled. You see it all the time. Some guy gets lucky, makes a bit of fast money, and within a year he's broke. He thought he was ready, thought he had it all figured out. God showed him real quick, you don't get to keep what you haven't earned. And that's why the process exists. That's why God is making you struggle, because when your time comes, He doesn't want you to just touch success. He wants you to keep it. But most people, they don't have the patience. They want the reward without the work. They want the victory without the fight. But let me tell you something. There's no shortcut to greatness. If you try to force success before it's time, it'll break you. Because success isn't just about making it. It's about being strong enough to sustain it. That's why you're still struggling. That's why things aren't happening as fast as you want. Not because you're being denied, but because you're being prepared. And if you quit now, if you break down and give up just because it's taking longer than you expected, you don't deserve it in the first place. Listen to me. The wait is a blessing. The obstacles are a gift. Because in every moment of struggle, you are being shaped into someone greater. God is watching to see if you're truly ready. Are you still going to put in the work when no one is watching? Are you still going to stay disciplined when nothing seems to be moving? Are you still going to believe in yourself when everything in your life tells you to quit? That's the test. That's what separates the strong from the weak, the ones who trust the process from the ones who fold under pressure. And let me tell you, the moment you decide to stop doubting, to stop resisting, and to start embracing the struggle, everything shifts. Because the struggle is where champions are built. Think about a warrior going into battle. He doesn't just pick up a sword and expect to win. He trains. He sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, learns how to fight. He goes through the pain, the discipline, the exhaustion. He bleeds in training so he doesn't die in battle. That's you right now. This process you're going through, it's your training ground. Every failure, every setback, every time you feel like giving up, it's all preparing you for the moment when God finally says, now you're ready. But if you quit now, if you walk away from the process, guess what? You forfeit the blessing. You abandon the very thing that was meant to build you into the man you need to be. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy who gets to the end of his life, looks back and realizes he gave up too soon. That he let his doubts, his impatience, and his fear rob him of the future God had waiting for him. That's the worst regret of all. Knowing that you had the chance, that the door was right there, but you were too weak to walk through it. But you're not going to let that happen. You're going to wake up tomorrow and trust the process. You're going to stop questioning God's timing and start working like a man who knows that success is inevitable. Because that's what faith is. It's knowing, without a doubt, that everything you're doing right now is leading you exactly where you need to be. And when you finally get there, when everything clicks, when you look back at every struggle and realize that it all happened for a reason, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. Because success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become along the way. So let me ask you, are you ready to trust God's plan? Or are you going to let doubt rob you of your future? Because the ones who make it, they don't question the process. They embrace it. You ever wonder why God doesn't just hand you success the moment you ask for it? Why He makes you fight for it? Why every step forward feels like you're being tested, pushed, and broken down? Let me tell you why. Because God doesn't want you weak. He doesn't want you soft. He doesn't want you to get to the top only to crumble the moment pressure hits. See, weak men think success is just about having money, fame, power, but strong men, they understand that success is about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of man who can carry the weight of responsibility, leadership, and discipline without folding. And the only way to become that man? The process. The process is what separates the winners from the losers. The process is what weeds out the men who say they want it but aren't willing to bleed for it. Because here's the truth. You can't fake greatness. You either put in the work and become the man who deserves success, or you stay in the same cycle of mediocrity for the rest of your life. And let me tell you something about God. He doesn't make mistakes. If he hasn't given it to you yet, there's a reason. You still have lessons to learn. You still have weaknesses to kill off. You still have discipline to build. But most of you don't want to hear that. You don't want to be told that you're the problem. You'd rather blame bad luck, your circumstances, or some nonsense excuse to make yourself feel better. But guess what? None of that changes reality. Reality is this: if you are not winning, it's because you are not ready to win. And instead of complaining about that, you should be grateful. Because when God makes you wait, when he makes you struggle, it's because he's making you strong enough to never lose again. But most people don't see it that way. They cry about how unfair life is. They say, why is this happening to me? Instead of asking, what is God trying to teach me? And that's the shift in mindset that changes everything. Because the process isn't just about making money. It isn't just about success. It's about earning wisdom. And wisdom only comes from experience, from struggle, from walking through the fire and coming out stronger on the other side. You ever notice that people who got everything handed to them usually end up broken? Athletes who go broke, celebrities who overdose, millionaires who lose it all because they never learned how to handle what they had. You think that's a coincidence? It's not, because they never went through the process. They skipped the struggle. And because they skipped it, they never learned how to hold on to what they had. That's what God is protecting you from. He's making sure that when success comes, it stays. He's making sure that when he finally blesses you, you don't fumble it. And if that means he has to keep you in the struggle a little longer, then so be it. Because God is more interested in your strength than your comfort. And this is where most people fail. This is where most people quit. Not because they're incapable, not because they don't have potential, but because they refuse to trust the process. Let me tell you something. Most people lose right before they were about to win. You know how many times I've seen guys quit at the last second? 1 month away from success. 1 year away from their breakthrough. But because it didn't come fast enough, they folded, they lost faith, and they walked away from the very thing God was about to give them. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy who lets doubt steal his future. Don't be the guy who lets frustration make him walk away from something that was meant to be his. Because let me tell you something. God doesn't promise an easy road, but he does promise that if you keep going, you will win. The only question is, are you willing to keep going when it feels like nothing is working? Are you willing to stay disciplined when no one is watching? Are you willing to trust that every struggle, every setback, every single painful moment is part of God's way of shaping you into a man who can handle success when it arrives? Because if you refuse to break, if you refuse to let the process scare you away, then you are and that's exactly what God wants you to be. Now, what's it going to be? Are you going to be another guy who quits, who makes excuses, who lets his emotions control him? Or are you going to rise above the doubt, trust the process, and walk into the future that God has already prepared for you? Because the choice is yours. This is where the weak fall, where the strong rise, and where God sees what you're really made of. Right now, in this very moment, you have a decision to make. Are you going to trust God's plan for you? Or are you going to let fear, doubt, and impatience steal your future? Because here's the truth. God doesn't need you to understand the process. He needs you to trust it. You think you're waiting too long? You think the struggle is unfair? You think the pain is unnecessary? God knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what you need to go through to become the person you're meant to be. He knows what lessons you need to learn. He knows what weaknesses need to be burned out of you. And he knows when the exact right moment is to give you what you've been praying for. The only thing stopping you from winning is you, your doubt, your impatience, your inability to see that the delay is a blessing, not a punishment. Every second you spend wondering, why isn't this happening yet, is a second you could be spending becoming the man who is ready for it. Think about this. If success was handed to you right now, would you truly be able to handle it? Could you carry the weight of what comes with it, the responsibility, the discipline, the constant pressure? Most people think they're ready, but they're not. They don't even have control over their own emotions, their own discipline, their own habits. And that's why God makes you wait. That's why he puts you through fire, so that when success comes, you don't fold under it. You ever wonder why God took so long to elevate some of the greatest men in history? Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he was ready to lead. Joseph was thrown into slavery and prison before he became second in command of Egypt. Even David, a king anointed as a boy, had to go through years of struggle before he ever sat on the throne. Why? Because God never puts unprepared men in positions of power. And if you are still in the struggle, if you are still waiting, then God is still preparing you. The only way you lose is if you quit too soon. If you let frustration trick you into thinking that the process isn't working. If you let your emotions make you walk away from something that is already yours, you just haven't grown into it yet. The real test isn't whether or not you can handle success. The real test is whether or not you can handle waiting for it. Are you strong enough to keep working when it looks like nothing is happening? Are you disciplined enough to stay focused when doubt is screaming in your ear? Are you faithful enough to keep moving when you can't see the finish line? Because if you can do that, if you can trust the process, even when it feels like everything is against you, let me say this one last time. God knows best. He is never late. He is never wrong. He sees the full picture when all you see is one piece. And if you can have the strength to trust Him, to embrace the struggle, and to refuse to quit, then success isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Are you going to keep doubting, keep resisting, keep letting frustration hold you back? Or are you going to wake up tomorrow and say, God, I trust you, I trust the process, and I'm going to keep going no matter what? Because that's the moment everything changes. That's the moment the struggle stops being your enemy and starts being your greatest advantage. The people who win in life, they don't run from the process, they embrace it. And if you can do the same, if you can stay the course and trust God's timing, then one day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day, you're going to look back at everything you've been through and say, now I understand.